my gosh, like, this, we're watching a horror movie right now, and she's, like, every white person ever. Like, yeah, have your head up your ass, lady. Hi friends, welcome. My name is Christina, for those of you that don't know me, and here on my channel we do videos every Wednesday and Saturday, and today's Saturday video is spooky episode number 2. I'm so excited. I love doing last week's episode. It was so fun for me. Hopefully I noticed, like, when I watched it back when it actually came out, it appeared different than when I edited it. So hopefully this week's episode will be, the lighting will be right. I'll figure that out. Interrupting the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe and make sure to like this video if this is content you would like to see in the future. I really enjoy doing these episodes in this series, so if this is something you enjoy too, please make sure to like and subscribe. Again, just like last week, Reddit usernames will be in the description for their credit for these stories. I lived in this house with a basement, and every time I walked upstairs, I would get this weird, creepy goosebumps feeling on the back of my neck. It didn't make me uneasy to go downstairs or to be in the basement. My craft room was down there. Oh, this is written wrong. Okay. They did not proofread this article before they put it out. My craft room was down there, and I spent a lot of time there. After a while, I would have items I was using disappear when I would look away from them. I would search and search, and one day I got frustrated. To no one in particular, I said, can I please have my scissors back? I had just looked under a pile of new mail. When I turned my head, there were my scissors on top of the pile of mail. I talked to my neighbor, and she told me that the original owner of the house was a jolly old man who loved to prank people, that he had fallen coming up the stairs one day and died. I think the goosebumps were him trying to tell me to be careful, and every time after that, when something would disappear, I would politely ask for it back, and it would appear in a place that I could not have missed it before. Thanks, old man. It was fun. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, that's not a very scary one, but that would still creep me out. I don't want things I can't see playing jokes on me. Who are you? Oh, I mean, obviously it could be worse. But okay. Ooh. My daughter was 4 years old when we lived in our last home. I was a single mom at the time, so it was just she and I alone in the home. I always got an uncomfortable feeling in her room, particularly the closet area, but never thought much of it until one evening I had to put her to bed, and as I was doing chores, I walked in her room and heard her whispering. I listened for a bit thinking that she was talking to herself, but it was definitely a two-way conversation with her saying, okay, stuff like that. I walked in and asked her who she was talking to. She smiled uncomfortably and said no one. I took her out into the hall, and she wouldn't say anything, but I could tell she was afraid. Oh god, no. Ugh. Finally, we went outside of the house. She said there was a man in her room who didn't want us in the house, and he had told her this and to tell her mom to leave. I moved us out a month later. She has not since ever had an episode like this. That's disgustingly creepy. Like, when kids can see things, oh, that honest to God makes me want to puke. That's disgustingly terrifying. Like, could you imagine? Could you just imagine? My dad would have shit himself if I was like, hey, there's this creepy guy in my room telling me that we need to leave. Like, oh my gosh. By the way, like, if you guys have ghost stories or any kind of stories that match up with, like, kind of the theme of what we're doing here, I definitely want to hear them. So put them in the comments, message me. I don't care. I want to hear about them. And if you'd like, I can put it in my next spooky episode video. Just let me know. I would love to hear your ghost stories, because my family, we actually have some. Like, if you ask my sister, she's positive on multiple occasions that there's different places we live that had, like, ghosts in them. So if she wants me to, I'll put one of her, like, stories in the next video. Let's move on. Oh god, this is disgusting. And like, I wonder why, like, in stories like these, the kids are the ones that, sorry, I have Travis on FaceTime again, and he's distracting me, but I wonder why the kids can see them and the parents can't. Like, sometimes you hear about, like, grown adults, like, you know, seeing things like that, but so often you hear of a kid saying that and like the adult in the house never sees it. And I wonder why. And there's like, I've heard a lot of people say that maybe it's because kids are like closer to the veil, because they're younger and things like that, and kids are just a lot more intuitive to stuff like that. You know, adults kind of have their head up their asses, and I say they because I still consider myself a kid, like, half the time. Does anybody else feel that way? Like, I still consider myself like I'm like 14, like you know, like I'm not really an adult, although I am a full-blown like 24-year-old adult. I just, like, I feel like kids are closer to things like that and they're just more intuitive. One day when my daughter was 2, we were having a typical terrible twos moment. She was throwing a bit of a tantrum for about 5 to 10 minutes and we couldn't get her under control. At some point she rather suddenly stopped, started staring at the wall, and then she started lightly giggling. It was weird. 1 second she was crying and screaming, the next she was smiling and happy. Then she starts saying "funny lady" over and over. Oh God, like, my mind, when I'm reading the stories, my imagination is so vivid that I'm literally picturing like some ghost lady behind me talking to my kid. Like, oh my God, that would be so scary. Even if it's like nice, it's still no. We asked her who she saw and she pointed to the wall again and again, said "the funny lady." When we asked her to describe who she saw, she described my deceased grandmother. I mean, exactly described her. She had never met her and I don't think had ever seen a picture. Not that a 2-year-old could remember a picture. I'm not much a believer in the paranormal, but I know for sure that my daughter got a chance to meet my grandmother and that makes me happy. When I told this story to my parents, they didn't seem as shocked as I was. When I tried to get a response from them, they looked at me and said, "I guess you don't remember that you met your deceased grandfather when you were 3. The exact same thing happened to you 30 years ago." Wow. I have heard stories like this over and over and over and over again. Like, the older I get, the more I hear somebody say stuff like this. So this is not shocking to me. So far these haven't really been scary, just like a little heebie-jeebies. Okay, I just like read the first like 2 sentences of this and I'm a little lost, so I'm gonna read exactly how it says, and if I'm just an idiot, let me know. I had been on the phone with my then boyfriend and he said something that made me think he was a chauvinistic, not nice person, and I remembered telling him that if he knew anything about me, he knew exactly where I was gonna go. Because I feel like I just jumped into the middle of a story, but we'll keep going. And I hung up the phone and got in my car. I drove to the park. The sun was kind of down below the tree line, but it wasn't dark yet, and I pulled into the parking lot. I thought it was weird that there were 2 cars pulled side by side and talking to each other. Okay. When I got out, the guy in the truck just stared at me in a horrible way. You know, when someone just looks at you like they're looking through you as if you don't exist. I thought, well, this is weird. It's late and no one's over here. And then I thought, whatever, they're leaving. I don't care. I have my own problems. Okay. I only took my keys with me because I didn't want a big purse banging around. I headed across the field, which you have to cross through to get to the woods because there's no trail. I was taking my time and calming down. Then I realized it got really quiet. I didn't hear the birds and the squirrels anymore. I just heard something big moving through the woods. I thought to myself, maybe it's a dog, and then I heard voices. The first voice is a male's voice, and he said, "I know, I saw her go this way. She couldn't have gone that far." The second voice comes and it's quieter and it says, "Shh, she'll hear you." Okay, so there's 2 men in the woods and they're looking for something, obviously, and I kept thinking it must be their dog. They must have lost their dog. Lady, are you dumb? They're looking for you. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. Like, this, we're watching a horror movie right now, and she's like every white person ever. Like, yeah, have your head up your ass, lady. Sorry. And I kept thinking, it must be their dog. They must have lost their dog. And then I thought they wouldn't try to sneak up on it. I stood there frozen because that's the kind of person I am. I could hear them getting closer to me, and I didn't know how long I stood there waiting for them to get to me, but I completely froze. And then I heard the other voice. It was distorted like if someone... Oh, it was distorted like if you heard someone talking through a closed door or underwater. Oh, that's probably because of her adrenaline. You could understand what they were saying, but the voice wasn't right. It wasn't in my head because it had volume and pitch that changed and a pitch that changed that my thoughts definitely don't do. I could almost feel where it was coming from. It was behind me and a little above, like it was taller than me, and it said, "Go to the river now." What? I don't know if I was more scared of the fact that there was some disembodied voice or a person talking to me, or there are two men in the woods. Like, so she doesn't even know what to be scared of. But first of all, why are you going into the woods at dark? We're not going to victim shame, but in my head, never would I ever, if we're playing that game, never would I ever go into the woods at night by myself when there's no one around but two random men. That is literally the plot of horror movies. Like, what are you doing? I listened to the voice because I didn't really have other options. I took off towards the river. Okay. I made a ton of noise. Some people are not very good at storytelling. Like, this is the first time we're hearing that there's even a river. Like, we're just supposed to know that she's about to go to a river. And then somebody's like, oh, go to the river. Like, what? What? If I had a good story to tell, I would tell it with more detail. Now I'm just judging this person. Because I'm like, who would do this? Who would do this? Okay, I made a ton of noise because I was just going as fast as I could, and the voice came back and said no quietly. Whoa! Ugh! I got to the river and jumped down the embankment. I squished myself against it, squeezed down into the smallest, tightest ball I could. The voice kept telling me to stay, and I just sat there, hoping whoever was in the mood... Okay, again, this wasn't written well because they meant to say whoever was in the woods, but they put mood. So this article was really not written very well. They did not proofread it, but okay. And I just sat there hoping whoever was in the woods was going to leave and that I wasn't having some kind of breakdown. And I kept hearing them moving through the woods, and I could tell that they had split off. As I sat there, the voice kept telling me to stay and quiet over and over, like it was trying to comfort me. What? I could hear what sounded like someone right above me, and if I leaned out, they could see me. But I had to look. Oh, I just tilted my head up a tiny bit and I could see the tips of those construction boots hanging off the edge. And I could see hanging next to them this dirty old robe just swinging next to them. I don't think I even thought anything. I was scared. I just tried not to breathe. It felt like hours, but I know it couldn't have been that long. The voice even was completely silent. There was nothing but me hearing this man breathing. Oh my god, Travis scared me. Oh my god, sorry. I have him on FaceTime right now, like, and he's just like sitting downstairs playing his video game, and he like moved and like a lot of his arm came into the shot, and it was like something just scared the shit out of me. Okay. There was nothing but me hearing this man breathing. He started to walk away at some point, and the voice kept telling me to wait, so I waited, and finally the voice said, "Go now to the field, go now." It was screaming at me so loud, so I ran through the woods and just got out to the field, far, far from the cars and the street. It was dark and I could see the parking lot, but it was far away. I'm running and I'm starting to hear footsteps running, and first they're further away, but then they're much faster than I am, barreling at me. and there was nothing. I fully expected to see at least one of the men there, but it was silent. The only thing I could think was the footsteps must have belonged to the voice. And I hear it again screaming at the top of its lungs that I need to run right now. And the footsteps come back and they're in pace with me, running next to me through the field. And I had 1,000 crazy thoughts because none of this made any sense. Finally, I get to my car and I see both the cars were parked in a different place with nobody in them. I refuse to look behind me. If there hadn't been a voice, I probably would have been a missing persons case. It got me out of there. Wow. This is a wild story because there's so much to unpack here. So like, this just solidifies again and again and again to me, like every person has this little voice, this little, like, forget the studies where like some people literally can't imagine things, like we've all seen that a little bit, but like everybody has a little voice, a little instinct. You may not actually be able to hear your voice inside your head because some people actually can't. I didn't know that until recently, but like there is this little internal like instinct that you have when you go somewhere and something's off. You will not always know what immediately, but something might be off. Listen to that voice and go home, like get out. And this is exactly what happened to her when she first got there. Well, this is weird. That's what she said. Like when she pulled up and she saw those trucks and the guy's looking at her in this awful way, he was probably looking at her like, yeah, that's the one we're gonna kidnap. Like that's what was going through his head. And of course she doesn't know this, and so she's like, that's a weird way to look at someone. People, pay attention. Like you have all the signs you need if you just get your head out of your ass. And like that's coming straight from my dad. Like this is a, get your head out of your ass. Like when I'm walking through a parking lot, like don't have your head in your ass, don't have your nose in your phone, like pay attention. And honest to God, like, you know, as a spiritual person myself, I would like to believe that that was like God, Jesus running with her, like be quiet, like don't move. Like that's what would come for me. That's what I would believe, that, you know, this was Jesus with her. You know, obviously I don't know her spirituality, but you know, she believes it was like a ghost that was like knew where these people were, but I believe that's Jesus. Like that is, woo, yeah, she would be a missing persons case. Like this sounds like it was in a damn horror movie, you know. And I mean, because she was just standing there frozen. And that's the thing, right? Like, if something that scary is about to happen to you, like, your brain cannot process just in a linear pattern, like, what is actually going on here. You just kind of almost like jump scenes, like, this is happening, then this is happening. And then afterwards, you're able to piece together, like, no, they weren't looking for their dog, they were looking for me. But, like, she didn't even think that. You know, and so it doesn't all click together in your brain. So you have to just, ooh, praise the Lord that she was not stolen. Oh my gosh. And I can only assume it's a she because, you know, statistically, guys are like out here kidnapping females and whatnot. But wow, that's crazy. To me, I don't really feel like this is a ghost story. That is a terrifying story about to be kidnapped. Yeah, that's fucking terrifying. But like, wow, that was a good story to end on, and I have several for next time. Well, you know what, should I? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and read these last two because I'm reading from the same article that I read from last time, and there's only two more little stories. So should I just throw them in here for a little extra spice to your Saturday? Okay, let's just do it. Ooh. And this isn't from Reddit. This is just from the website's creator. Without further ado, let's continue. During August 2018, my friends and I took a road trip from New York City to Rhode Island. None of us had been to Rhode Island before, so we were excited about the drive, especially because we rented a Mustang convertible for it. Good choice. We left a little later than expected. It was about 10:30 p.m. and since it was a busy Friday night, we decided to punch our destination into the Waze traffic app to beat traffic. Eventually we started losing steam, so my friend in the back seat fell asleep and I just kept driving along quietly when my friend in the passenger seat told me to exit the freeway and take a side road. At first, driving on the unlit winding back roads was relaxing, but then the wind picked up and it got increasingly foggy and misty. I wasn't scared per se, just a little on edge. I thought about pulling over to put the top up, but decided against it since there were no cars in sight. Heavy rain was projected for the entire weekend, so I wanted to get the most out of the convertible. So I kept going along as normal, if not a little too fast, to get back to the main road as quickly as possible, when something just shifted. I don't know how to explain it other than an unsettling, exposed feeling. I remember pulling my sweater over my legs to cover up. Then my friend up front told me to look at the look at the street sign in the distance. It read, Purgatory. We woke up our friend in the back seat, who sort of scoffed. What? Seconds later, we went around a bend where a large red cross was installed on the side of the road with nothing else in sight. We just shrugged it off as creepy coincidence. My ass. By then, we were kind of joking about and indulging in the spookiness. But around the next bend, a big truck came hurtling down the one-lane road, aimed straight at us. Luckily, my impulse was to swerve a little to the side, otherwise it probably would have resulted in a head-on collision. My friend tried to get his license plate number, but he sped off, while my other friend found the quickest route away from this particular road. We didn't really discuss what happened afterwards because we were too creeped out, and we haven't talked about it since. While writing this story, I decided to look it up. I spent an hour trying to retrace our route and found the little road. It was indeed named Purgatory, and though we didn't notice it at the time, Google Maps revealed that Purgatory Road was situated next to an old graveyard. Curious about this road, I researched it further and discovered that 2 teen girls had died there in August of 2011 in an accident on their way to visit the grave of Rhode Island's infamous vampire Mercy Brown, who died in 1892. Apparently, they decided to go for a drive down the dark, windy road because they thought it looked haunted. Yikes. Wow. Yeah, that also sounds like movie stuff. It's crazy. Alright, last story, and then we can wrap up Spooky Saturday episode 2. I'm so excited. I didn't grow up believing in ghosts. Then, one morning when we were 16, when my friend's mom picked us up for carpool, I mentioned that I was really creeped out by the bathroom upstairs in my house that no one ever used. I couldn't exactly define why I felt this way. I just found it eerie. The house I grew up in was an old Victorian home built in the 1800s, so eerie vibes were a part of the package. Hearing this reminded my friend of her own creepy bathroom association. She told me, did I say association? Association. She told me that when she lived in the German countryside for a year, that's cool, there was a little section in the home that no one but her middle sister used, who was about 9 years old at the time. During the time period, her sister would wake up with bloodshot eyes, sometimes even bruises, and feel totally exhausted. What? They did everything to investigate what was going on, including sleeping in her room, working with a child psychologist and a school counselor. My friend doesn't remember much from this time period other than her sister being disturbed by something the year they lived there. She mentioned that she and her sister, the oldest, also hated using that bathroom because they would always feel off and find thick black hairs stuck in the drain, even though each of them had fine blonde hair. At one point in the story, my friend's mom abruptly stopped the car and jerked her head around and said that's where the woman who once lived there killed herself. She drowned herself in the bathtub. My mom was clearly shaken, and she said part of the reason they moved was because they felt something off about the house. Wait, so I'm guessing, what is wrong with this family? They didn't talk to each other. All of a sudden, this mom is having this realization. Like, first of all, what? Oh my gosh. That's insane. Insane. Whoa. What did you guys think of the stories? Like, heebie-jeebies. wow. The one that really stuck in my head is the girl who almost got kidnapped. And by the way, well, as you saw, the name of that particular story was called The Guardian. And I think it was Jesus, but that's just me. I don't know. I really am enjoying this series, and I'll try to find some even scarier ones for you. Next week, I am trying, you know, just trying to get into my groove of this. This is a series that I'm very excited about. I do not want to stop this series. I love it. Alright, you guys, so if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I am over halfway to 100 now. I'm so excited. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any submissions, if you have a story of your own, please let me know and I will put it in my next video if you like. If you have like a story that you read personally, maybe you have an article, send it my way. I would love to read it and give you guys my reactions. I'm so happy to read these for you guys. Let me know what you think. Which one was your favorite? Which one was the scariest to you? Again, personally, The Guardian, that was the scariest one to me because that's real life. Spooky Saturday episode 3 will be out next week. Same time, same channel. If you're not already subscribed and you're watching all my videos, which 64% of you are, sorry, 64% of you are still watching my videos and you're not subscribed. So you might as well subscribe since you love watching my videos. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed and stay safe, wear your mask, and I'll see you next time. Bye.